Right, so I didn't expect this to take quite so long, but I've just reviewed this shelf here. That's a 15-minute video. Part 2, I reviewed this shelf here. That's another 15-minute video. So this one is probably going to be a 15-minute video of this shelf here. There's a few bits underneath. Oh no, there isn't. That's just music and so on. So yeah, these are more horror films. So let's have a look. So there's the House box set, kind of a quadrilogy, I guess. This is an Arrow release. As I said in my last video, if you see this logo and this mark here underneath on a Blu-ray, that's an Arrow release, which is pretty much a sign of good quality. So in this, you get the individual titles. House 1 and 2 are very good. Kind of comedy horror, I guess, if you haven't seen them. 3 and 4, I think weren't written as house movies as such, but they kind of tagged them onto that franchise after the fact. They're okay. 3 and 4 are okay. 1 and 2 are very good though. Hellraiser, I'm probably going to do a video about this on its own at some point, but the Arrow collection is just the trilogy, which I think is appropriate because from what I understand, I could be wrong, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but from what I understand, Clive Barker pretty much only endorses 1 to 3. Everything beyond that isn't his Hellraiser, because obviously Clive Barker directed the first one. I only saw the Hellraiser movies for the first time this year, and I was really blown away by how good they were, because I'd always had expectations about them, but there you go. Now, beyond that, you can get this box set with 4 of the sequels, which were straight to video, and it goes downhill. Hellraiser Bloodlines, which is the 4th film, got a cinema release, but it's not very good. It's silly, and it goes in space and so on. So that's 4, 5. So Inferno is 5. Hellseeker, I think that's number 6. That doesn't make Hellworld number 7. I think number 7 is Deader, which I could only get on DVD. And then the 8th film is this Hellworld. And these the only reason I kind of drew the line here is because these were the ones that the original guy that played Pinhead was in all those. There have been some come out since then, but he wasn't in it. So that's why I have the ones that I have. Anyway, Candyman, that's another Clive Barker movie. Very good. Definitely check that out if you haven't seen it. The sequels, on the other hand, are shit. Don't watch them. The Burbs, kind of comedy horror with Tom Hanks. Again, an Arrow Blu-ray. Joe Dante, Joe Dante directed this. I've mentioned him in some of my other, talking about the other Blu-rays and stuff. Pretty good. It's got Carrie Fisher in it and a few others. It's if you haven't seen it, give it a watch. There's a few films here I've got on DVD that I haven't actually watched. These are horror films. Obviously, Psycho. I've never seen that. Alfred Hitchcock. I need to. That's mental. I haven't seen that. The Birds I have seen. Alfred Hitchcock. Pretty good. I haven't seen it for a lot of years though. Some of these I got given, like The Omen. I've not got around to watching that yet. I need to really sort that out. California, that was a pretty good one. It's not, I'd call it a horror. It's a kind of psychological thriller. Brad Pitt, this was early Brad Pitt as well. It's kind of a serial killer douchebag. Juliette Lewis was his kind of white trash girlfriend. It's got David Duchovny from the X-Files in it as well, and they kind of go on like a road trip, and all hell breaks loose. Pretty good film, a bit grim, but give it a watch. Darkness Falls I've only seen once. I had to rebuy it because my original copy was knackered, hence this is in shrink wrap, but I have watched this. Pretty good film, early 2000s from memory, and some pretty effective special effects in it as well. Quite creepy, to be honest. So I'd say give it a watch anyway. Pumpkinhead, I only saw this the first time recently. Lance Henriksen's in it. I think it was late 80s. Stan Winston. Did he direct this? Because, yeah, he did. Stan Winston done a lot of work on things like Terminator and so on, and just like special effects. He directed this film, and you can kind of see his mark on it. Pretty good. Not amazing, but pretty good. There are sequels. I've not seen them, but I've been told to stay away. Deep Rising came out, was it 98, 99? Pretty good film. If you haven't seen it, it's about some people that go out armed to the teeth in the middle of the ocean, and there's like a giant squid monster that comes up and just eats them. Special effects in this are terrible. There's no denying that, but I say give it a watch. It's pretty good. Disturbia, that's a pretty good film with Shia LaBeouf. In some films, he's pretty good as Shia LaBeouf, to be honest. And this one was kind of aimed at a younger audience. It's a 15. It's kind of like Rear Window, basically. Shia LaBeouf is under house arrest, witnesses some stuff going on with his neighbours. Kind of has some elements of the original Fright Night as well in there. There's nothing paranormal about this. It's all about a serial killer. But the suspense in it is really good and effective. I definitely recommend it. It's a lot of fun as well. From this point on, these aren't horror films, so I'm going to skip over a few of these, because we're getting to Kurt Russell films now, which kind of evolves into my Kurt Russell, John Carpenter, and then just John Carpenter movies and back to horrors, basically. So let's just skip all the movies up to The Thing. So I suppose you could say Unlawful Entry is kind of a horror, it's a suspense thriller. The Thing, that's the original The Thing from Another World that came out in the 50s. Very good, to be honest, especially for its age, but I really like it. Obviously, John Carpenter remade that movie. I've got a few versions of The Thing, not versions, but different format versions. So this is one of the first DVDs I ever bought. It was Christmas '99, and I bought this and The Matrix in Leeds, and it was just after I bought my first DVD player. So I've kept that for sentimental reasons. Quite impressive. Then we've got The Thing 1 and 2. Well, 1 and 2. So there's the 82 version and the 2010 or 2011. Yeah, 2011 version. The 2011 version had some okay elements to it, but it was a big letdown in comparison to the original one. Again, there's no denying that. But I've got the set with the 2 films on it. But then, a few years ago, Arrow Blu-ray, thank God, they released a really good, impressive looking version of The Thing with a shed load of extra features that, if you're a hardcore fan, this will keep you pretty chuffed, to be honest. So I definitely recommend, even if you already have it on Blu-ray, Arrow brought this out, get it, it's so good. Arrow also did Big Trouble in Little China, which isn't really a horror film, so I kind of skip over it, but it is what it is, amazing film. Escape from New York, not a horror film, but I've got a few different versions of that, but I'll kind of skip those because they're not horrors. Last year, and I spoke about this at the time, you can't really see brilliantly on here because we've got, it's kind of, the effect of this is kind of shiny. There were some 4K releases of 4 John Carpenter movies, and they also came out of the cinema around Halloween time. It's kind of difficult to pick these up on camera, and the sleeves of these are a bit annoying as well. These are steel books. So there was Escape from New York in 4K. There is The Fog. That's, as you can see there, really nice effect on there. These came out in different sets as well. I went for the steelbooks because they were actually a bit cheaper than the normal ones, and I wasn't too bothered about some of the stuff that came with the other versions. They Live, so that's kind of horror elements to it, more sci-fi. And then Prince of Darkness, which I think we saved for our main Halloween Day video last year. I love Prince of Darkness, it's so good. Dark Star, not so much of a horror, but it was one of John Carpenter's, I think it was his first proper film. It was kind of a student film, and it's got a cult following to it, and I've seen it so many times, really enjoy it. Assault on Precinct 13, not so much horror, but it does have some elements of the original Night of the Living Dead. This came out in the 70s, and again, it's all John Carpenter. Really good film. It got a remake. I mean, that itself, Assault on Precinct 13 was a remake of Rio Bravo, which was a John Wayne film, hence I've got it on my shelf here. But then John Carpenter's remake got a further remake by some other guy in 2005 or 4, I think it was. Assault on Precinct 13 with Ethan Hawke and Lawrence Fishburne. Really good. I liked it, to be honest. Bit different to the original in some ways, kind of updated, but no, it was good. I'm skipping one for a second, I'll come back to it. Village of the Damned, this is a John Carpenter remake, similar to when he remade The Thing. He remade an older film. It was a British film originally, and it's got Christopher Reeve, Kirstie Alley and Mark Hamill, and a few other John Carpenter recurring actors, like smaller actors. These are the original ones you can get on DVD, kind of classics. I only saw them for the first time this year, but they were pretty good. So Village of the Damned and Children of the Damned. They don't really follow on brilliantly, don't those 2 films, but whatever. Memoirs of an Invisible Man with Chevy Chase. Pretty good. This wasn't so much horror. This was more him kind of doing a Batman kind of superhero type film. But there you go. And pretty good cast in it as well. So I definitely recommend this if you haven't seen it anyway. Sam Neill's very good in this as well. He plays a villain in the thing. Again, all John Carpenter. All these are John Carpenter pretty much from this point on in this video. Christine, it's one of my favourite John Carpenter films. There's different versions of this that you can get on Blu-ray. For some reason, when I picked it up, this was the cheapest one I could find, and it's a decent quality one, but you can get a proper British version of this on the shelves, if that's what you're after. I think you can get it in 4K, but you have to get it imported, and I've not got around to it yet. Black Moon Rising. This is a film I only saw for the first time this year. Arrow video release. Tommy Lee Jones and Linda Hamilton, and John Carpenter wrote this, but it was directed by somebody else called Harley Coklis. Pretty good film. A bit of sci-fi to it, a bit of sort of gritty 1980s kind of action movie. Definitely recommend it anyway. Body Bags, I had to get this, it says, as you can see at the bottom, this is a kind of Tales from the Crypt thing that was directed by 3 different horror film directors. So you had Tobe Hooper, John Carpenter, and I can't remember who the other director was that worked on this. But yeah, pretty good kind of 3-part movie where it's got 3 different stories in there. And they don't link at all, but John Carpenter plays kind of the equivalent of the Crypt Keeper in Tales from the Crypt. He's kind of like a guy that hangs around in a morgue, and you can tell he's having a lot of fun with this. And this was in the early 90s as well. There's a lot of big actors named in this as well, that not named on all of them on there. There's quite a few others as well that turn up, so I recommend it anyway. It's a good one. Not easy to get on Blu-ray though, hence I had to get this import. But again, it plays just fine. Subtitles aren't forced on you, and the language is in English. In the Mouth of Madness, if you haven't seen this one, definitely check it out. It's a bit of a cult classic. It's got Sam Neill in it as well. Kind of a take on the H.P. Lovecraft stuff, and obviously At the Mountains of Madness, which was a H.P. Lovecraft book. There's a lot of references in this, and it's an interesting one. Right, so we're kind of coming towards the end now anyway. I'll just get down on my knee because I'm kind of struggling to film under this thing here, so it might be in shadow a little bit. So there is John Carpenter's Vampires, came out in 98. I think some people kind of hate on this movie. I don't know why. I thought it was really good. It was James Wood was in this, and pretty memorable. There are a couple of sequels to it I don't really recommend. The second one was okay, it had Bon Jovi in it. I got rid of it recently, I had it on DVD, but I kind of rewatched it again for the first time, and I was like, yeah, this is shit. So there's a third one that's just terrible. This one's a rare one. Someone's Watching Me. It was a TV movie that he did after he did Halloween. I think it was after Halloween. And it's okay. It's about a woman who's getting stalked. This is not imported. This is a bootleg version. I don't think you can get like an official version easily anyway, and I think you have to get it imported. So I got this bootleg version. Starman, this is something that he made to basically atone for having made The Thing, because it went down pretty badly with critics. I haven't upgraded this to Blu-ray yet, but as you can see, it's a PG, it's family friendly. I've got Memoirs of an Invisible Man on DVD as well, just because there's some extra features that weren't on that Blu-ray that I mentioned. Masters of Horror, this was a TV series that he did an episode for. He pretty much gave up directing after he did Ghosts of Mars. And he did a couple of episodes, though, for this Masters of Horror series. One was called Cigarette Burns, and one was called... I can't remember what the name of the other one was, but something about babies, I can't remember. They weren't very good, though, to be fair. It's pretty sad, because he went downhill. He did one more film called The Ward, and that was a bit disappointing as well. Hence I haven't bothered forking out for a Blu-ray of this because I didn't really rate it, to be honest. So you got to have a batting average, I guess, and John Carpenter's batting average is quite high, so he might have some films that I wasn't a big fan of, but you know, his other stuff was great. The Halloween movies, finally, the original one, what is it to say about that? It's great. The new one, the 2018 one, I own both of these on 4K. The new one was decent, and they are doing some more. John Carpenter didn't direct it, but he did oversee a lot of it, from what I understand, as producer. And he did the score with his son Cody as well, so that was quite good. And then we're on to the DVDs, so I've got the original Halloween movie on that, and I think that's got the TV cut as well. Halloween 2, this is where it kind of goes downhill, and all the others. Paul Cage gave me all these a couple of years ago. I did a video about the Halloween movies a while ago, so I won't cover that again, but there you go. There is one other John Carpenter film that I haven't mentioned, but I have it with my Jason Statham films. Well, I did mention it, but I didn't show you it because it's here on my shelf, and that is Ghosts of Mars. Got it on Blu-ray. I think this was an import, but it plays just fine. But there you go anyway. So those are my horror movies. I've just spent 45 minutes talking about those. So I hope you like these videos anyway. I hope they're of interest. But it's Halloween anyway, and as you can see here, Lucy Cage, film suggestions, horrors. So I guess this is for you, Lucy anyway. And porn rental member of 2019, G-Car. He's a vile one, his car. Anyway, right, I'll leave it there. Maybe next year I'll have some more stuff to talk about, but for now I'll just leave it there and say thank you very much for watching. You can come back tomorrow on the channel. There will be some more, well, at least one more horror-related video as we wrap up the Halloween series at Brand X Reviews. 7th annual Halloween series. Thank you very much.